Tonight on EIV News at 6, Supreme Court Justice Antonin Scalia's death rocks the nation.
And an update on the water crisis in Flint, Michigan. We'll have those stories and more coming up. Good evening and welcome to EIV News at 6. I'm Peyton Lewis.
And I'm Maddie Creighton. We begin tonight with top stories.
In a letter released Tuesday, Apple refused to help the FBI break into one of the San Bernardino shooter's phones. The letter was signed by Apple CEO Tim Cook and warned that working with the FBI could build a backdoor to the iPhone. This risk is considered too dangerous to create, and Apple has called the judge's order, quote, an overreach by the U.S. government. The letter from the company has also called for a public discussion about the order.
Authorities are currently working to identify at least 4 people who attacked and robbed a decorated former Marine in a Washington, D.C. McDonald's last Friday. The veteran, Christopher Marquez, told the Washington Post that he was eating his meal in the corner when he was approached. By the group, Marquez said they asked him if he believed all lives matter. After hearing no response, they called him racist and attacked him. The veteran says that he was knocked unconscious due to a blow to the head. When he woke up, he was missing his wallet. Marquez was treated at George Washington Hospital for head trauma, but the search for the suspects is still underway.
New progress in solving the Flint water crisis. Michigan state officials announced a new plan in partnership with the Flint-based engineering firm Rowe Professional Services to assess the conditions of lead-based pipes that have been named as the source of the city's public water disaster. The Public Works program to replace the lead pipes is expected to cost Flint upwards of $50 million. Organizations at both the state and federal levels have stepped in to prevent further damage. Michigan Governor Rick Snyder is expected to release more details on the partnership later this week.
A major shakeup in the federal government this weekend as Supreme Court Justice Antonin Scalia died at the age of 79. With his seat in the Supreme Court now vacant, the future of several major cases, including key rulings on abortion and teachers' unions, are more unclear than ever. The judge's death is sending ripples across the entire federal government, igniting disputes both in Congress and on the campaign trail. Members of the Republican-controlled Congress have called on Obama to allow his successor to appoint a new justice. However, the president has stated that he believes there is more than enough time left on his term to appoint Scalia's replacement. The traditionally conservative judge was appointed by Ronald Reagan in 1986 and voted against several landmark decisions, such as Obergefell versus Hodges, which legalized gay marriage in 2015. Our Rebecca Hankins joins us in studio for more on the impact of Justice Scalia's death. Rebecca, what does this mean for the upcoming presidential election?
If the Republican-controlled Senate decides to block Obama's Supreme Court justice appointment, the 2016 presidential race winner will have the power to affect the balance of liberal and conservative justices in the court. This could affect decisions for the next 50-plus years. And in addition to Scalia's death, increasing the amount of money being spent for the Senate races. And this is a big deal because the Senate controlled by a specific party will affect the next president's ability to pass legislation based on their ideologies. We're going to see some long-term effects in regards to the Supreme Court decisions for both cases, if Obama makes an appointment or if it's up to the next president of the United States. President Barack Obama and leaders of Southeast Asian nations held a 2-day summit in California this week to resolve the region's maritime disputes. China claims it has a historical right to most of the South China Sea and has built 7 artificial islands to prove its control of the sea. China refused to be a part of the summit, but Obama says the disputes will be resolved in accordance to international law and the UN will make a ruling later this year. The U.S. will continue to fly, sail, and operate within the UN's jurisdictions to assert its freedom despite China's territorial claims. Obama made it clear Tuesday that he wants this issue to be resolved peacefully and wants the leaders of Southeast Asian nations to take a stance on the issue. And Obama is likely to veto Senator Ted Cruz's bill to rename Washington's Chinese embassy address after a political prisoner. State Department spokesman said the bill could complicate efforts to convince China to release human rights activist Liu Xiaobo, who is serving an 11-year sentence for calling democratic reforms in China. The Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesman said the bill violates principles of international relations and advises the United States to stop reviewing the bill. The White House has implied that Obama will veto the bill. Cruz found it ironic that Obama, a Nobel Peace Prize winner himself, would veto a bill honoring the 2010 Nobel Peace Prize winner. And former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton made a direct appeal to black voters Tuesday by proposing a plan to conquer racial inequalities if elected as the next president. Campaigning in Harlem, Clinton focused on gaining support from black voters who backed her husband in previous elections in order to secure votes against her opponent, Bernie Sanders. Clinton says her plans will be more extensive than Sanders' worries about economic inequality and the power of Wall Street. Clinton says the recent water crisis in Flint, Michigan took attention away from more serious challenges black communities face, like unemployment. Both Clinton and Sanders are appealing to black voters in search for support in the up-and-coming Nevada caucuses and South Carolina primaries.
Thanks, Rebecca. Coming up, airlines are reopening between the United States and Cuba after nearly 50 years.
And Pope Francis took a 5-day tour to Mexico. All this and more when we return.
Welcome back to EIV News at 6. I'm Peyton Lewis.
And I'm Maddie Creighton.
The South Dakota State Senate passed a bill Tuesday that would ban transgender students from using the restrooms they identify with. The measure, which is now in the hands of Republican Governor Dennis Daugaard, would force students to use the school restrooms, showers, and locker rooms that correspond to the gender they were assigned at birth. Daugaard says that he has never met a transgender person, and he did not intend to before the decision in an effort to stay objective, but he has since changed his mind. Daugaard also noted that he thinks the bill sounds like a good idea, but he would have to listen to the recorded testimony before making a decision.
Airlines are looking to capitalize on a new opportunity in 2016. Almost every major American airline is planning to apply for regular flights to Cuba following an aviation agreement between the U.S. and the island nation on Tuesday. The agreement would allow for 110 daily flights to any of Cuba's 10 international airports and would open up regular travel between the two nations for the first time in over 50 years. Major American airlines, including JetBlue, Delta, and American, have all announced they will apply during the 15-day window for the flight routes. The U.S. Transportation Department is expected to select airlines to receive travel rights by the summer.
And the 2010 BP oil spill case took a turn on Wednesday when a federal prosecutor argued that a Deepwater Horizon supervisor should be held partially accountable. The prosecutor stated that the rig's company day supervisor, Robert Kaluza, ignored crucial test results that indicated unwanted pressure from oil and gas. Kaluza has been charged with violating the Clean Water Act. If convicted, he could face up to 1 year in prison. Defense lawyers argue that Kaluza spent most of his career working onshore and had been involved with a different offshore rig. His team also states that he had left decisions to the night supervisor before the explosion.
Former President Jimmy Carter won his second Grammy Monday night for the audio version of his book A Full Life, Reflections at 90. This is the second award for Carter, who won the Best Spoken Word category in 2007 alongside Ossie Davis and Ruby Dee. At 91, the former president was also happy to announce that he is cancer-free. After announcing his diagnosis of brain cancer in August, Carter will continue to receive regular treatment for the time being.
And now a report on the Turkey explosion. With more, we have Christina GUESSFORD. Christina?
A deadly explosion in the Turkish capital of Ankara killed 28 people and injured 61 others on Wednesday evening. The attack was the city's second in 4 months. Assailants exploded a car bomb during the rush hour near 3 vehicles carrying the military personnel waiting at an intersection close to military headquarters and parliament buildings. Turkey's prime minister on Thursday blamed what the military has called a terrorist attack on Kurdish militants at home and in neighboring Syria. The country has increased pressure on the U.S. to sever ties with the Syrian Kurdish militia, which has been a crucial force against the Islamic State group in the Syrian conflict. Turkish leaders have vowed to retaliate. Doctors Without Borders said on Thursday that it will no longer formally inform Syria's government or its Russian allies about the location of some medical facilities. The decision was made amid concerns that healthcare in Syria has collapsed due to the many attacks on the country's hospitals. Airstrikes in northern Syria hit 2 hospitals and a school on Monday, killing at least 25 people. The charity, which is also known by its French acronym MSF, has said it considers the deadly bombing deliberate and that it was probably carried out by a Syrian government-led coalition. MSF's international president told reporters in Geneva that the normalization of such attacks is intolerable. Pope Francis wrapped up his 5-day visit in Mexico on Wednesday with one final mass yards away from the U.S. border in Ciudad Juarez. History's first Latin American pope prayed in a dusty field by the Rio Grande for the thousands of migrants who have died trying to reach the United States. His homily was then cast live to an estimated 30,000 people in the Sun Bowl football stadium in El Paso, Texas. Francis called attention to the migration crisis and urged the world's governments to open their hearts to those fleeing poverty and violence, organized crime, and extortion in their own countries. He also praised the work of activists who often risk their lives to help these migrants cross the border so that they may achieve their dreams. Though the Pope delivered a speech on Mexican soil, he sent a powerful message to the world.
And coming up, an NFL commissioner earned $34 million in 2014.
Stay tuned for this story and more when we return.
Welcome back to EIV News at 6. Presidential hopeful Jeb Bush has been experiencing some unexpected technical difficulties in recent months. Internet users going to jebbush.com are being immediately redirected to the website of leading GOP candidate Donald Trump. According to the internet archiving website Wayback Machine, the false web link has been redirecting users to Trump's site since at least September of 2015. Jeb Bush's official website, jebbush2016.com, remains up and running. However, officials estimate thousands have been mistakenly redirected to Trump's site. Bush currently trails the real estate billionaire by 13 delegates after the first two primaries of the election season.
And a German short-haired pointer named CJ is king of the dog world this week. CJ won Best in Show in this year's Westminster Dog Show in New York City. This pup comes from a strong bloodline. His grandmother, Carly, won the Best in Show title in 2005, and his handler, Valerie Nunes Atkinson, won the Westminster title for Best Junior Showmanship when she was just 15. More than 3,000 dogs competed for the title at Madison Square Garden. The competition concluded with the top in each group competing for the title. CJ won the sporting group Monday evening and went on to defeat favorites such as Rumor, the German Shepherd, and crowd favorite Boogie, the Samoyed, to claim his prize on Thursday. We are joined in studio by Annie Carroll for an update on the world of sports. Annie?
New England Patriots linebacker Jerod Mayo announced his retirement. Mayo was a member of the Patriots organization for 8 years after being a first-round pick in the draft. At 29 years old, Mayo posted a 90-word Instagram about his decision and how he experienced several injuries throughout his years as a player. He also missed the AFC Championship game this year due to a shoulder injury. He logged only 6 games on the field in each of the previous 2 seasons. While golfing with infielder Travis Shaw, Red Sox outfielder Mookie Betts parked a golf cart on a hill, resulting in that cart to go into a pond. Betts had left a club at a previous hole and went to retrieve it. He then parked the car and thought he heard the click of the brake, hopped out and saw the cart rolling down the hill toward the pond. The cart contained his wallet, phone, keys, and golf clubs. The wallet was recovered when a course employee went into the water to search for his items. And on Tuesday, the NFL filed their tax returns, and it was made public that Roger Goodell, the NFL commissioner, earned $34.1 million in 2014. Goodell's base salary was $3.5 million, and he received a $26 million bonus, other benefits totaling $3.7 million, and compensations adding up to about $273,000. Goodell was named NFL commissioner 9 years ago, and now at the age of 57 has earned over $180 million in salary. Because of the NFL's non-profit status, the tax returns are made public. However, the league changed their status last year and no longer will have to disclose this information.
Thank you for joining us, Annie.
That's all we have time for tonight. I'm Peyton Lewis.
And I'm Maddie Crichton. Good night.